And here we are, Fustinis. Welcome, everybody. Friday with Fustini, September 4th, Labor Day weekend. I'm here with Katie, who I tried to name Kathy earlier in the summer. And what we're going to do today is start to try to help everyone see how to turn summer into fall in the kitchen. Summer is starting to drift away. And specifically what we want to do is today show you some of how the new products we've introduced this summer can help make those fall recipes just a little bit better. So these would include things like, we're going to use the sriracha sauce from Harwood up in Charlevoix, our agrodolce. We're going to use the habanero agave, and then the new Chilean Select Arbequina extra virgin olive oil. And Katie is going to demonstrate a really nice squash recipe. It's an acorn squash with pomegranate and burrata cheese.
Cool.
Katie, take her away.
All right. So yes, we're going to make a acorn squash. It's going to be roasted in the oven. We're going to put some Fustini's products and some other seasonings and spices on it before we roast it to give it a ton of flavor. It's going to come out, we'll plate it, and we're going to finish it with pomegranate, sage, and burrata cheese for a really nice fall flavor. So let's get started. So we've already cut up our squash. Squash can sometimes be a little bit challenging to cut, so we did not want to take that risk or put you through that on the live. So what we're going to do is we're going to lay it out in a single layer on a baking sheet. I would say do yourself a really big favor and make sure that you line your baking sheet with some aluminum foil. There's going to be honey as part of the what we're going to be roasting it in, and that's going to caramelize really nicely in the oven, but it's also going to make a pretty big mess on your baking sheet. So I would say future you is going to thank present you if you remember to do that. So we've got these all lined up here. We've got a little bit more than we need, so we'll just set these aside. And then we are going to make essentially the marinade for the squash. One of the really nice things actually about acorn squash is that once you roast it, you can eat the skin, so you don't have to peel it, which makes it an easier squash to roast, and it's one less step. And actually the skin turns out really nice and soft, but keeps a little bit of a crunch and a crispiness to it when you eat it. So that's awesome and a little bit easier. So let's make this. So we're going to do 2 tablespoons of the Arbequina Fustini Select olive oil, just in from Chile, which is awesome. This is more of a, I would say, mild to medium flavored olive oil. So this is good because we don't want to take away kind of from the sweetness and the heat that we're going to be adding to it, but just really add some really nice flavor as it roasts.
Look how green it is.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's fresh olive oil.
So 2 tablespoons of that. We're also going to do 2 tablespoons of the habanero agave agrodolce. This is going to add a little bit of sweet, but also a little bit of heat. Something that's really delicious about these is the heat that you add to it to go along with the sweetness and to kind of cut the sweetness. So that's really fun. And actually, me and one of my best friends, Jillian, we were in Phoenix together back when traveling was a thing that we could do. And we went to a restaurant and had the most amazing squash we've ever had in our lives. And it was this really nice, sweet, but good heat squash, kind of like this. And ever since, we've both tried to kind of mimic the recipe and find a good recipe that gets close to that flavor. And so we talk to each other about it when we make it. And this is a pretty close imitation to what we had there, which was delicious. So we're also doing 2 tablespoons of honey for that sweetness. And then we're going to do a teaspoon of the Harwood sriracha for some added heat. And if you like a lot of heat, you can actually add more than a teaspoon. It's really up to you. I'm going to add a teeny bit more to make sure that that heat comes through. We like heat in this house. And then I'm gonna add some roughly chopped garlic in there. And a little bit of salt and pepper. I forgot to bring over to our station. All right, and then we're gonna whisk it up. Make sure it all gets mixed together nicely.
It smells so good.
I know. And then we've already got the oven preheated to 425. So we are going to kind of pour this on top. I'm a cook with my hands kind of person. If you didn't want to get your hands dirty, you could probably use a basting brush or even a spoon or a spatula, but I'm going to pour it over like this. And then just kind of make sure that it's totally covered on both sides. And then once we do this to all of them, we're going to throw them in the oven and we're going to cook them at 425, like I said, for about 30 to 40 minutes until they get soft and kind of browned. And we're going to flip them once, kind of halfway through cooking, to make sure that both sides get evenly cooked. So while we do that, why don't we send it over to Denise? And then when we come back, we'll show you how to plate this.
Hey Katie, thanks. So what I'm making today is pork chops with some apples and onions. So I've got my pan that's heating up here, and I've really liked the Coratina, which has a little more oomph to it. And I think for sauteing these pork chops, this will be perfect. So we're just gonna put this in here, about a tablespoon. And then I've got my pork chops here. So I'm just gonna salt and pepper them. And then we're gonna just put them right in here. And we're basically just searing both sides of them. So we're just gonna get a sear on them, and then we're going to take them out, do our apples, do our onions, and then put it all together. So while those cook, we'll come back over here. And basically, we're just going to thin slice some red onion. We'll get that ready to go. And then we're also going to slice up some apple. I'm not sure what kind of apples these are. They came in my CSA box yesterday, and since I knew I was getting them, I thought this would be a really fun fall recipe to make. We'll get these all sliced thin. I just loved what came in my box yesterday, all the produce. And I know it's only going to get more and more as we kind of transition into the squash and the root vegetables and all of the apples. I think pears are going to be at the farmer's market here in Holland tomorrow. I got a notification for that, so that'll be great. So I've got one done. And let me just check, and we're going to flip the pork chops over. And actually, see, as I try to lift them, they don't really want to come up. So that's telling me that they're not ready to flip yet. This is actually a trick that Chef Andy taught me, that when you put something on a hot surface, it's going to want to stick, but as it cooks, it gets more and more separated, so it's not completely touching the pan anymore, and that's how you can tell when things are done. So I know in the past, if you've like tried to take stuff off the grill and it doesn't come off real nicely, that's why. So we'll just let those go for just a little bit longer. So after my pork is done, I'm gonna stick my onion and apples in a little bit more olive oil and saute those briefly. And then I'm going to add some chicken stock with some of the, I'm going to use the rosemary garlic agrodolce. I'm going to use our new horseradish mustard, and then a little bit of the Michigan apple, and make like a sauce and reduce that. And then add my pork back in to finish cooking and plate it all up for you. So before we send it over, back over to the Milligans, I just wanted to give a shout out. It's my husband's birthday today, so you'll have a great dinner tonight. And yeah, so back over to you if you're ready.
Thanks, Denise. That looked awesome. Those apples look good. I love apple picking in the fall. We'll see what that looks like this year, but they'll still be delicious. Okay, so we took the squash out of the oven. They're ready to go here. We had a little bit of movie magic to get them done within 5 minutes instead of 40 minutes. But you can see they're really nice and golden brown. The skin's nice and soft, so that'll be edible. I mean, we've got them on a plate here. And so what we're going to do to finish them off is we've got some sage, some fresh sage. So we're just going to chop that up here. And really, I think to me, like sage and squash is such a really lovely fall flavor. And I love adding like fresh sage to soup or to pastas. To me, it just really tastes and feels like fall. So this is a nice transition into fall, even though I personally am not ready for fall to be over, or for summer to be over and for fall to begin. Especially with less of a football season this year, there's not much to look forward to, but still go blue. So we're sprinkling this sage on top. Next, we're going to do 1/2 cup of pomegranate seeds. These you can either buy within the fruit already, and then when you get them home, if you cut them open and soak them in some water, the seeds will loosen up and be ready for you to use. Or they do have the Cheater's Way, which is what we did. And at most grocery stores, they've got them kind of prepackaged in a cup in the produce section. So whichever way you want to go is totally fine, but should be easy to find, especially now that it's fall. Then we're going to tear some burrata on top. I'm going to use, oh gosh, half the ball here. Maybe. It's a little bit messy, but
She likes to cook with her
tastes good.
hands.
Yeah, I told you. It's a little bit dangerous, but it works.
Yum, burrata.
Yes. So burrata is such a nice, creamy mozzarella. It's got kind of the harder mozzarella on the outside and then really creamy on the inside. So it's a really nice cheese to serve on a salad like this. To have kind of some in every bite. Beautiful. And then this was poorly planned because now I have dirty hands. Then we're going to quickly drizzle a little bit of honey on top. Another thing that you could do and that I've done before is make some hot honey to drizzle on top, which is really nice. So you just put some cayenne pepper in with your honey and mix it up and let it sit for a little bit, and then it will add a little bit more heat. And then we're also just going to drizzle with a bit of the arbequina. And that is that. It's a really great side dish in the fall. We've had it for holiday meals before, for Thanksgiving, for Christmas. So we're going to it now, and I hope that you will too.
Pretty darn good, Katie, Kathy. It looks awesome. I can't wait to dig into this. I hope that everybody has found something to get inspired by to go to fall recipes, and using some of our new products. I'll wrap up by reminding
Denise is not done yet. So we'll send it back to her real quick.
Oh.
Yep, this is live, all right. So my pork chops got seared on the other side. I added a little more olive oil. I added my onions, and now I'm adding my apples. We'll get those going. Just give them a quick stir. And those are just going to cook just to get it soft. Like I said, I'm not quite sure what kind of apples they are. I would make sure I use a really hearty, strong apple that doesn't really turn mushy. So for my sauce, that's actually going to deglaze my pan, I've got some chicken stock in here. And then I'm going to add some of this horseradish mustard. And then I'm going to add some of the rosemary garlic agrodolce. About 2 to 3 tablespoons. And then I'm going to add a little more of, add some of this Michigan apple balsamic. So we're going to give this a little whisk, kind of just mix in the mustard a little bit. Yeah, I'm trying to see when to add the spices. All right. So this is what I need to add. So this is a cup of cut up fresh sage and rosemary and rosemary, and thyme. So I'm going to add that to the apples and the onion. Give that one more stir. It looks like especially the onions are getting done. And then this is when I'm going to add our sauce. And you can hear it bubble up, which is great because when you take your spoon, you can see there's little bits of pork chop that are left at the bottom. And with your wooden spatula, you can just grab all that flavor that is stuck to the bottom of the pan. And it makes your pan easier to clean, which is, you know, good too. All right, so this is just going to reduce down a little bit. And as it does, this is the time where we're going to add our pork chops back in there to finish cooking. So just kind of nestle them in among the apples. And then we're just going to let those cook until, if you use an instant read thermometer, just make sure it reads 145, which is the doneness for pork chops. So I'm going to let these cook. I think they're going to take about another 4 to 5 minutes. So Jim, if you want to wrap it up, I'll plate this when it's done, and we'll put the pictures up on social media and on our website so you can just see how delicious it is.
All right, so you want me to wrap it up again, Denise? Sorry about that.
Before you do, we have a question from the Facebook chat, which is awesome. Please keep the questions coming.
Yep.
Valerie Clark Johnson asks, if you could only buy or start with one agrodolce, which one would you start with and why?
Okay. Well, first of all, I'd remind you that on any order that you place, you can add a little 60 milliliter bottle complimentary from us to try. So you can try any one of the 4 at no additional cost. The rosemary garlic is the most popular so far. You know, we have a lot of savory oils and vinegars, and this kind of fits well. This is terrific. What we've been using at our house, frankly, is this habanero agave, because we like heat and we like the contrast of the heat and the sweet. You can go into our recipe section if you're looking for ideas, and in the search bar, put in any one of the 4 agrodolces and see a whole list of recipes. So thanks for the question. That's it. Thank you for joining us. Hope you all have a great and safe Labor Day weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next Friday. Thanks.